What's popular, YouTube? Another day, another shameless ad plug on Thorin's channel.
Listen up, heed my call, because today, if you check the date, and it is either the 28th after 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, basically East Coast of America, which is the same as 9 p.m. Central European Time, or it's not yet 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time / 9 p.m. Central European Time on the 29th, so a 24-hour period starting at 3 p.m. EST / 9 p.m. CET, there is a 24-hour, 20% off Gamer Supps Black Friday sale. So normally you get 10% off with the code Thorin. You will now get 20% off everything site-wide for this limited time only. Now's the time to stock up. I would suggest some of my favourite flavours. I've done like a tier list on my actual channel, by the way, but I like my main rotation is Sakura Splash, a sour cherry flavour, Cherry Limeskull, a sweet cherry flavour. I like lemonade. If I have to mix other ones, it's the Guacamole Game of Art 9000, which is just strawberry and lime. Then on the other outer rings, I've got stuff like the Browser Brew, which is a black currant, etc. There's a few different ones I also enjoy. I'd check out some of those. Also, I've recently been using every night as part of my sleep routine. I'm also taking the AFK blend, which actually helps you go to sleep, promote sleep, staying asleep, and then staying asleep longer, etc. Because I had issues in the past with interrupted sleep, so I find that's actually pretty good so far. Check out the website, use the code Thorin, etc. Right, we're here for stage 2 of the Budapest Major, the 4th CS2 Major, of course. And we're going to get into the pick'em here. Obviously, I'd have liked to have done this video last night. I actually waited up until something mental, like 6 a.m. local time. I think the games were done about 11 p.m, by the way, because I thought they're going to release the pick'em as soon as the matchups are drawn, right? There's only a day for everyone to do it. But no, apparently, Valve just sat on their fucking arses. Now, every little dickhead with the stars and stripes in their eyes is going to go, well, it was Thanksgiving, what do you expect? Yeah, I don't expect a bazillion-dollar company with a worldwide game holding one of their only 2 world championships in it that year to go, sorry, I was eating turkey, passed out drunk from wine coolers on a couch, so I couldn't get to the PC and press the button. Like, fucking grow up, will you actual child? I'm talking both to the Valve devs and the people who defend that shit, by the way. I think that's whack as fuck. Shout out to Hawker for beating us all, because everyone was waiting, itching to do their pick'em video. He just did his hours and hours earlier, and I thought, how's he done that? It hasn't come out yet with the pick'ems. He just took the actual screen that had half the teams as question marks, and obviously he couldn't know the opening round matchups, and he just put the logos on the screen and just did it manually, basically. So he wrecked us all, didn't he? He just got ahead of everyone and got the initial traffic, so shout out to him. But now the pick'ems are available, so we can do it properly. There's not as much time to do it and to make content and for people to see it. And also, some people have fucking lives, mate. Like, some people can't just sit around waiting for a bloody online thing to go. And remember, if you miss this, then for all the rest of the days, everyone else like, how's your pick'em doing? Well, my pick'em is, and then you just didn't get to do it because these people are just too fucking lazy, even though the game generates billions of dollars a year. Like, give me a break. So as usual, good old fucking Valve, eh? So it's here now, though. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through in the same style I did for the other ones. I'm going to do a tiny bit of theory. You've all heard that by now, at least. I'm going to do the simulator of all the opening round matchups so we can get a better sense of who can do where. And then I'm also going to do all the other rounds up. The difference is the first round matchups, I'll actually look at the veto. The other ones are hypothetical, so we'll just imagine what they're going to be. We'll figure out the 3-0 pick, which is the really tricky one to start with. The 0-3 is less tricky, but we'll do that one. And then we'll do the middle ones, and we'll figure it all out, won't we? And as usual, I'll not only run through sort of a mini preview of all the teams in this stage, but actually, as I'm about to do now, let's actually also make this a bit of content that reviews stage 1 as well. Why don't we go and look at stage 1 via looking at my pick'em and talk about all the teams there, the ones that made it, the ones that didn't. We hop into the game, and on stage 1, my picks were Legacy FaZe 3-0. Almost everyone did that as far as I could tell. Some people didn't believe FaZe would 3-0 just because they're FaZe and they're kind of a bit ropey at the moment. So some people put bait there. Look, still wouldn't have worked anyway. So obviously the joke is Legacy didn't even get through, did they? But we'll get to that in a second. Then for the eliminations, I had Rare Atom because I just told you they are absolutely appalling. And the Huns. The Huns are pretty bad too. They just played a bad team too, like Lin Vision or whatever. Then I had getting through Fnatic. Was a pretty solid pick. Gamer Legion, you'd think should have made it through, but obviously we'll get to that. They bombed it. Bait was kind of as you'd expect. And IP was up and down, but had good moments. Paravision sort of made it through, almost a bit fluky at the end there, but they had a bit of a tricky run where they lost some sus games. And FlyQuest probably a surprise for some people, because even though I had them going through, which some people didn't, I noticed I put them instead of, I think, was it them or Paravision that I put instead of NRG when they didn't have Nitro? I forget. But first of all, I didn't think NRG, well, we'll get to that in a second. Basically, FlyQuest obviously went 3-0, didn't they? Which I don't think anyone actually predicted. Although I think there was something mad, like didn't Fallen or something put them top. But I think he also put some other ridiculous team in the 3-0 as well. So who knows about that? So if we look at the correct ones, I did get 5, didn't I? I got Rare Atom. That was locked in early. I got Bait. I got Nip. I got Fnatic, and I got Paravision. Now, I will say, these ones I was very confident in. Look, I thought Legacy would go through, but I didn't get the 3-0. That's not the end of the world. The 3-0s were trickier in this stage because everyone wasn't that good. By the way, that's right. Even though it's made the major suck a bit, I do like that VRS works though, and that seeding works in theory, and we're actually getting like the bad teams at the beginning, not like randomly a top 5 team or top 10 team in the first stage. That was always whack in my opinion. So, like, how many fucking times, by the way, if you know the history of the majors in CSGO, did bloody Ziwu, when they were like a top 5 team in the world, and he was a top 2 or 3 player, start in the first fucking phase of the Swiss, so he just got to farm all the stats there, and then little dickhead fans like, oh, look, he's fucking smurfing. It's like, yeah, versus who, bro? Versus who? So and they used to lose half the fucking BO1s anyway. So, I would say the safest ones always were like Bait, Nip, Fnatic, because they were always going to go through. It's just the question was, could you ever get a 3-0 or 0-3? That's what I think fucked most people. Now, if we do a quick rundown of all the teams quickly. So, obviously, I'm going to talk about some of these later, but I'll mainly talk about how they performed here. M80, obviously, for some people, is a surprise. I didn't have them pick as one of my picks. I think they overperformed. We'll get to that. FlyQuest mega overperformed because of where they went, but we'll see when we get to the review of the next stage. It was partly because of some of the teams they faced. Bait was actually a little bit sus. Let's go. I tell you what, we'll do the teams that didn't make it through. Rare Atom's just bad. They're just really bad. Linvision, I can see why some people have an appeal of them. They can play the odd game that's not bad, but they've never shown structure or enough talent for me. They haven't even got like 3 good players in my opinion. Gamer Legion is a shock. I do think they're a well-coached team. I think they've got to sort that AWP problem out. And then I also think some players underperformed. Red Canid's actually better than I expected. I told you I considered them for a 0-3. But actually, you know what? They had the odd game they pulled out that was kind of decent, considering I don't think their roster's that good. Huns, who gives a shit. Legacy, actually, it's a bomber. I've got to say, first of all, the Lato guy played maybe even slightly better than I expected. He's just really fucking good. If you remember when last year I kept raving about Insaney on MIBR before it kind of caught everyone's eye, it's not that his team was good at MIBR. Legacy isn't particularly good. They're kind of an alright team. But I'll tell you what, that guy fucking just frags, bro. He's just a really good player. Like, I actually genuinely hope he gets out of that team. Sadly, they will be haunted forever by that Nissan fucking flank in regulation on Paravision, because if they'd have just gotten that kill, the whole round is different after that, and they really could have won it. Then you've got Fluxo, if anything, mad overperformed. They were in the 2-0 game. I thought they're just crap. It was a good game by Art in one of them. Fart, as we call him. NRG, I told people at the end of my video when I did the addendum about Daps playing that, look, when you have a squad like that, everyone was criticising the fact they didn't take some other IGL as a sub. Like, what are you talking about? First of all, how would he fly to the fucking event? How would he get there in time, etc., etc.? Also, their coach, not that long ago, was an IGL in CS. He was even a comparable type of IGL to Nitro. And he obviously knows the map pool, the playbook, and the fucking players in his team. So I always thought, come on, they're going to win at least one of the BO1s, aren't they? Like, they're probably going to get like 3 BO1 cracks at least. And then at that point in time, they're going to get one of them. And yes, actually, if anything, they will perform too. It's just that this is why, even though Sponge made that like pithy comment, like, these teams don't deserve to play BO3, it should all be BO1. Mate, that will make stage 2 way worse. Notice how the super fraudulent teams either got really lucky with the 2-0 game, because those were all bum-ass teams pretty much, or they just went 2-0 and then did the like, and 3 BO3 losses and eliminated from the tournament. Like, you need the BO3s to actually filter out the fucking shitters. Let's go then, now that I got their first stage. Oh yeah, by the way, also, I hope you all realise none of you were ever actually brilliant analysts or geniuses or psychic. You were just carried at all those majors by the fucking loophole that if you put the team that should be 3-0 in the 5 that make it through, or 6 or whatever it was, then you were just going to get it automatically, weren't they? Now that you actually have to pick a 3-0, and if they don't 3-0, you not only wasted that spot, but you fuck up a spot when they make it 3-1 or 3-2, all of a sudden no one gets the coin, do they? It's really hard. But here's the problem. You all stupidly, you're all going to pretend like that stupid meme, like I was pretending to be retarded. You're all going to pretend it was a joke. But no, you absolutely did pretend you were psychic or a super genius, and that anyone, me, Pimp, whoever, Maui, if we didn't get it, that actually proves we know nothing about CS. Well, spoiler, I got the first round, so I guess I proved I did know about CS. And if you didn't, and you're watching, then you just proved you know, oh no, you didn't just miss one pick, you just know nothing about Counter-Strike by your own logic, hoisted by your own petard. Anyway, let's go to stage 2. Those of you who are still in the game, of course. So in stage 2, we're going to run down all of this. I tell you what I'll do the review first, and then we'll do the matchups. So obviously we're going to start with big boys, Aurora. Aurora is basically, let's be real, they are carried by Xantares. He is the beginning, he is the end. If he plays really well, and he can, he's one of the probably top 10 players in the world, and he carries a mad load on the T side, then all of a sudden their T side can be good, and they can beat, in theory, any team in the world. The problem is if he ever drops off, or they get into sus territory where it's late game and Madge has to call, then they're in a lot of trouble. Sometimes Woxit clutches can save them. Listen, the firepower's great in the team. Jota can frag. Wikadia's not a bad fragger, especially when he only has to be like a 3rd or 4th type player. I've always said, if you'd have given this type of a team to like a Carrigan, bro, he'd probably be like 2nd or 3rd best team in the world. They'd win loads of tournaments. But we all know they're perennial chokers, and they are fragile almost any level of opposition. They can wake up one day and just smash an elite team 2-0. Then they can play some not that great team and just lose like 2-1 in unconvincing fashion. They're so hit and miss. But in this phase, let's be real, they should in theory be the best team. But the classic thing about them, of course, is if I put them 3-0, they'll probably fuck up 1B or 1, then they'll be 3-1, won't they? So I actually don't know yet if I'll do that. We'll think about it. The problem also is they can also wake up, unlike most of the other teams, and just smash the whole group in 3-0. So it's tricky to pick, isn't it? Then you've got Na'Vi. Now in Na'Vi, they're obviously not the Na'Vi of old, not even really the Na'Vi of the first season. They're very hit and miss. With that said, I do think the fact that they do still have one of the better tactical systems and callers and a decent baseline sort of distribution and floor level of fragging does mean I think actually they'll hold up pretty well in this major. Like, I can actually sort of see them making a fluky major run into the playoffs. Like, I think they could make the quarters. I think if they get the right opponent at the quarters, especially someone who's a little bit nervy on stage, they could even fluke a semis maybe. They just can't win the tournament, but they could maybe fluke a semis. And if they ever made the final, they would get smashed because it's a BO5 final. With that said, and by the way, I should have said on for Aurora. Aurora should actually be a dark horse to win this major. Once you get outside of Vitality and Furia and then a bit of Falcons, I actually think you could argue right now, because no one knows if Donk's going to play Omega or Tine, you could argue Aurora should be more of a dark horse than Spirit. True, they don't close games, but they have the firepower and the track record to do it. For Na'Vi, for me, the main two things is this. One, despite everyone criticising Makaze, because he isn't like Prime JL last year, and he isn't, I don't know, Frozen or whoever they want now, or Elise or something. I get it. Those are dope players. You just don't have the option to get them. I do think he's good, though. I actually think he's so far proven pretty well. Yeah, he maybe had like a honeymoon and he's dropped it a little bit. He's a bit hit and miss, but I do think he can frag, and I think he plays well generally. My issue in their team is, I think in this phase, they're going to be fine. It's in the next Swiss stage, I think they're going to have the issues. Because for me, the problem Wonderful has is this. Deep in playoffs, he falls off. Playing against elite AWPers often falls off. You put him against lesser talent and in normal games, I actually think there's a real chance he'll be like a top 5 player in the stats for this stage. I could see him doing very, very well if you look at the AWPers he's going to face here. So I think actually Na'Vi, if anything, a tiny bit too hated on right now in light of where the rest of the top 10 is at. Because once you get past about 3 or 4, by the way, actually it drops away pretty quickly. It's pretty stratified right now in CS. Then we got Liquid. The main problem they have right now is the two biggest names on the team are Elige and Nertz in terms of the last few years. Elige does do all that great T-side work as usual, but he has quite a few games actually where he'll just be kind of a bit off the pace overall. So that's one thing. It's not that he's a bad player. It's the integration of Elige, I think, still hasn't quite worked out. They're still finding their feet. I do think they've got the roster. They should, in theory, be in this like dark horse conversation to do like a semi-final or a quarter, but who knows yet? Part of me feels like they can sneak into the quarters. My main issue is Nertz just hasn't played up to the level they did in Heroic and Ents and those past teams. He looked like he was just a bona fide pure fragger. Hasn't really done it so far for me in this team. He's had his issues. If anything, actually NAF having a revival this season is what sort of made it so that he's been saved a little bit. Otherwise, I think a lot of people will be criticising him. He's the equivalent of your star striker you signed, Isaac for Liverpool, who just doesn't score fucking goals at the moment. So that is an issue. But I think because they played to the level of their opposition, they will get through the stage. It probably will be the 3-1-3-2. Then you got 3D Max. Right, 3D Max is a really interesting team because I always say, for me, they're a CSGO roster playing CS2. Because CS2 is about aggressive T-side players that put up gaudy numbers and dominate with the AK, the best gun in the game, and it's all about fragging, right? They don't really have that. But they have the tactics and the sort of team play and the sort of canny roster that fits together style of CSGO, of the heroics and the enses that we all used to love back in the day. So one thing I do think is quite cool about them is they can get it done on T-side via their tactics when it's on the few maps they play, but they are pretty bad at fragging on T-side. They also don't have anyone approaching like a real true superstar or star. The best players, I mean, it probably is just macro exercise, right? Now, the veto issue is real when it gets to the BO3s. I've made a lot betting on 3D Max and people don't know, but often as an underdog, because if they can get a veto where they can get Nuke and Inferno, then they've got a very real chance to beat even some pretty good teams, even some of the top teams in this group. But if they have a veto where they can't get more than one of Nuke and Inferno, look, they have the Dust 2 because they are a classically French team, Dust 2 Inferno, but the Dust 2 itself, because their firepower is a bit lacking, they can be beaten on that. It's way more of a coin flip. So if they're in any vetoes where someone is, I ban Dust 2, then they're in a lot of trouble, or a ban on Nuke, etc. There are certain teams, a Paravision maybe, would be interesting to see them play against, wouldn't it? I actually do think they've got a decent chance to get through, though. It just depends who they face. Obviously, there'll be a team that hopefully can feast in the BO1s if they want to get through, in light of the veto issues. Astralis, I know people love the Astralis name and some of the players. I think they're somewhat washed. I find them so underwhelming with this Magus edition. Maybe he's arguably, I don't know, he could be better than the player you replace. I'm very debated. I think if you'd have given Stound time and you'd have told Huxley, just get on it, get on the fucking job, mate, focus on that guy. I think it was possible to turn that around and make him a good fragger again, because they do miss his fragging, and Magus does not bring it at all. Device, by the way, I'm just going to say it right now, one of my favourite players of all time is fucking mid right now. I don't know what's going on in his real life, but you know that thing last year? Pretty sure the last 3 years have been diminishing returns if you've been watching Device. And not only is the team not that good, he doesn't hard carry them, and he isn't some top player where the stats are... He's not going to be a top 20 player. He's kind of a bit dunzo at the moment, so who even knows where he's going? And then he's had all those health issues. The main problem for me is their best player at the moment is Stair, who isn't like a true world-class star. He's just someone who's good at his role. It certainly seems like he has a good personality, does some good fragging in the game. They, by the way, live and die off being able to play Nuke. So in the BO1s here, if teams veto correctly, they're going to have a hard time in the BO1s. But there's a world where, as long as they can pick Nuke, they could get through some of the BO3s, and maybe they can sneak in as the 3-2 team. Then we got Tyloo. Right, Tyloo remind me of in CS 1.6 what some of the Asian teams were like, especially at the end. They often had one player who actually looked world class. Like if he could speak English and you could put him on an international team like FaZe, you could win tournaments with this guy, he could be the MVP. You're thinking of Solo from Korea and Eastro and We Made Fox. You're thinking of Jungle from WNV, Savage from later WNV teams. Who else? Mal from the Lunatic High squad, etc. / Maven. These were the players where they were just studs. Maybe good rifle from Tyloo at the end, maybe. The problem you have is this. It's not 1.6, boys. And so Jam Young is a stud. This guy, absolutely, when he goes off, they're not life games. He can do this. He can carry you against a lot of opposition. The problem is his team isn't very good. So it actually sometimes doesn't even matter if he does. And I do think They just mad overperformed that, 3-week period. It's when they played the Fisher Playground, the weak field one, where it was right before the play break ended. And then they had some results in the ESL Pro League group stage, but then that's about it. Beyond that, they've actually been somewhat fraudulent. By the way, their T-side, especially considering what a good player they have in Jam Young, their T-side is ass. It is fucking bad. And I'm sorry, if you know CS2 Tai Lu and Chinese CS, you'll remember, attacker. He used to... CS2 should fit that guy. Boys, he's 28 and he's washed as fuck. He actually sucks at CS. He's not even the IGL either, by the way. As far as I know, he is not the IGL, so he cannot give that excuse. He's just not a good player. So I think they are going to really struggle. I could see them having a chance in the BO1s. I think they are toast in the BO3s. I could even see a world where... The problem is the Jam Young factor makes me think they won't be 0-3. But I'll tell you what, this phase, because we've done VRS correctly, there's not many bad teams here, really. I mean, you're talking at that point about the Passion UAs, the M80s, the Imperials of the world, etc. Maybe even a Paravision or a Bait, depending on how much you believe in Jim, or the land factor for Bait. So I will say I don't think they're going to be good here. MIBR, good news is, if you used to watch MIBR last year, they were appalling. They had 2 maps. If they didn't get those, they were deep shit. And Insane, he had to go crazy, but he was really good. This year... The good news is they've a tiny bit expanded the map pool. They've got half a map pool now. So it depends who they get in the BO3s. But in the BO1s, they could certainly do well. And now they actually have some legit stars, by the way. They have Insani as a rifler, aggressive rifler, really good player, by the way. They have Klim, who is that Eastern European player who was actually on loan from the G2 Academy squad. How other teams didn't pick him up, I have no idea. Who knows? I'd rather have him than Jacob in FaZe, for example. That guy's actually legit. I mean, I guess, what am I talking about? He wouldn't play Jacob's role, but you get my point. He should be in a FaZe type team or a Gamer Legion or something, but whatever. He's in MIBR for whatever reason. Kickert's there, obviously helping him translate and shit. By the way, as far as I know, Kickert isn't the IGL. I think Exit's the IGL, so I don't even know really how that works. I guess he's just a veteran and he helps. It's doing that your Kindar Tomolodo, I translate and help you feel comfortable in the team, jazz or whatever. So this team for me is more the BO1 threat. But it's not impossible they could sneak through. I don't think they will 0-3 personally. Passion UA, this, if you don't know, the joke goes like this. Fnatic was basically Passion UA, Underground Railroad, escaping out into the West and then just replacing Cypher. And now they just have 3 players from that lineup. Passion UA itself is X-Complexity, but with Kvem from Passion UA. So it's not even a Ukrainian team. It's just bizarre. But I'll tell you what, the Kvem edition, you're not at the level when you had Elige, but I'll tell you what, it's not bad. Because you got Graham, who kind of is the poor man's Elige in terms of his output. Kvem's actually doing a decent job. And then Halzerk now, he didn't live up to what he did last year. But I'll tell you what, actually, he does frag decently. So you've sort of got decent fragging in this team, actually, even for this stage, which might even surprise some people. I think Kvem is the difference maker because he's kind of the opener player. They've also got a decent map pool. I've always thought JT is an underrated IGL, actually. He's the sort of IGL I would rather see in a Gamer Legion or something one day. I get that he works with his former coach from Complexity in this team, though. So I've got to say, though, I actually think they've got a decent floor, but I also think a lot of these teams can beat them. Yeah, that's the issue. And I also don't think they've got an excellent map. They've got a good ground to their map pool, but they don't have maps where they're they're so dangerous. Even Astralis has the nuke. They don't really have a map like that. M80, I've got to say, you've just got to go and look who they got in the first round. They got Bait, who is a tier 2 team. It's just they've been together quite a long time and they played quite a few lands. That was even fucking super close. They beat Paravision, who, by the way, to that point had never beaten anyone good, except on September the 28th, they beat Bait online or something. They were kind of a bit fraudulent, as you saw, because a lot of their players are inexperienced. And then in the 2-0 game, who did they get? NRG, with their coach standing in as IGL. Bruh, if you don't 3-0 that, are you even good at CS? The only one I'd say there you should lose on Bait was the Bait one, right? So I also think if you go and look, I'm sorry, their whole team overperformed. Partly because of who they played with. Lake is a legit player, but he's supposed to be more sort of your third star type character. Bro, he was fucking smurfing those games. The Swisher guy was having ridiculous games. He's not even supposed to be particularly good. Everyone just went crazy in this team. So I do think they will struggle in this phase to frag like that in any way. And also, good luck getting a draw like that. How would you even do it? You could maybe maybe get the first two BO1s if you're really lucky. There's a lot of upsets. The best of threes, I think you're going to have a hard time winning a single best of three if you're M80. Unless you lose the first BO1s and you just play like, fucking Tyloo or something. But even then, Tyloo might be favoured to beat you, quite frankly. So actually, if you're M80, props for even making it to this point in the tournament. FlyQuest, people want to crow because FlyQuest famously lose all the BO3s at majors, don't they? Listen, that was the easiest stage one ever because we've got VRS working now. The issue with FlyQuest is this. I told you Vexite is the X Factor, not a star. He was basically like the highest rated stats player. He went nuts. Everyone fragged out on this team too, by the way. But the problem is they only played South American teams. And spoiler, Europe isn't just the best region in Counter-Strike. It's far and away the best region. It's why we almost need to, it's just unfortunately because of political circumstances, it's awkward, bring back that term CIS region, because if anything, CIS region versus Europe's the better battle than even South America versus Europe, isn't it? Shout out Legacy fans. So I think the problem you have in this team is when they play the European teams, I don't think they're going to win BO3s, boys. It's going to be so hard. And you saw, it's not like they were just blasting everyone in the BO1s either. They could have some games that were hit and miss at times. Bear in mind, they were all fragging out their minds. So I think it's quite questionable, personally, if they get out of this stage. With that said, I could see them winning A, BO1 and not going 0-3, maybe. Bait are a squad where they're kind of what I expected them to be. I didn't think they were going to 3-0. I thought they all even had the chance to lose the BO1s. They did. NPL did really well. Kenzie, Zor or whatever. Actually, I'm just kind of surprised how he did. They had so many close games, though. This was really touch and go. I think they're a team that actually is going to have a hard time getting through this phase. Don't know that they'll go 0-3, but they'll have a hard time getting through this phase. Fnatic and NIP are obviously two teams I was kind of riding with. Fnatic, Blame F, after the first map at least, did carry. He was really, really good. Jambo delivered, like I told you. He actually was a decent signing. The problem that makes you scared is two of the results. They lost to Fluxo, who just aren't good. And they had a way too close 0-2, in my opinion, versus NRG with Daps. There's no universe that should have been that close. Bear in mind the players and how long I know the Jacasmo guy just joined, but the rest of the core's been together quite well. That was a little bit disturbing for me. That makes me worry when you get to the BO3s, how many of these teams you can actually beat. Because that's even with Blame F and Jambo going off. Then if you go to NIP, not too dissimilar a story. I told you Kaspersky is the truth. He's a fucking cracked out player. In this stage, it was actually the lesser support development, Snappy and Shush, that fragged out. Wrinkle is still really hit and miss. He's kind of your ultimate X-Factor AWPer, but he can have the games where he goes nuts. The issue here for me is, in an ideal world, Kaspersky would be your star rifler, Wrinkle would be your star AWPer, and then it should be you, Jerks, who's a sort of X-Factor, and he was kind of a bit whatever. There's also the issue that they did lose to NRG in a BO1. Now, with that said, they also did beat FaZe, so that's pretty good too. But you can see Nip's still a mixed bag. I think it's really touch and go. It will depend who they draw, in my opinion, if they have a chance to get through. And they're probably more like a 3-2 team, if we're being honest. Then you've got Paravision. I thought because of the gym factor, they'd have a chance to go through. With that said, it was a bit sus, wasn't it? Like, first of all, the two best players, Jim and Zalo, they did work. Okay. The Nota guy, I think, blew a bunch of maps, and the AW guy was just fucking bad. Like, that got really dangerous. I mean, if you ever go and look at the 2-2 game, on the third map, the game against Legacy, I've just pointed out for Legacy, like, there's a world Legacy maybe could have won or should have won that game. Like, that was so fucking close margins. That was, a smoke bloom, the right push through, a flashed opponent. There was some ridiculous shit going on in that game. So, if you're Paravision, you were lucky to even get to the stage. And thus far, even the real teams you beat are the Baits of the world, boys, the Legacies of the world. You aren't cooking teams like Aurora, Na'Vi, Liquid. Well, maybe like, who knows because they can't close the game. But in theory, those teams should be above your pay grade. So I could see Paravision fucking up the major for other people. But I actually think in this stage, I think they, unless I look at the simulator and see some great route, I actually think they probably won't make it through in this one. Then you've got Imperial. It's a shock they're here, obviously, until you look who they played. Rare Atom, I think the worst team in the fucking stage one. The Huns, I had them as my other 0-3 team. They suck. And then who did they play in the BO3? NRG! Are you having a fucking laugh? They didn't have their IGL. So I think Imperial is on borrowed time here. Borrowed time. And that Norway guy, Smurf, I don't even think he's that good. Try was good as I expected. So I think this is a team where you can really think about them for a 0-3. I could see them just packing their fucking bags, crying on Twitter in the interview, and then fucking off back to South America. And I don't even dislike some of the players. Some. Then we've got the last team, the dreaded FaZe. I said it on Twitter. In the last game, in the 2-2 match, I was low-key in that third map, pulling for fucking Fluxor, even though I despise art, to win that game. Because they were in a winning position, and I thought, with how they've played and how Brokey's played, wouldn't it almost, one, be deserved for FaZe to lose it, and two, surely it would force the Org's hand to have to make some sort of a cut and a roster move and do something to inject excitement for the fans. Miss me with all that, like, hey, classic FaZe. FaZe used to just lose one game and then get through each group stage, except for the majors they bombed, obviously. And then in the playoffs is when the magic happened. It wasn't like, what's this myth with Team Liquid and FaZe that if they just play bad or have a close game, it's a classic FaZe and Team Liquid. It's like, it's not even vaguely. You've just taken that to a meme. It's like the people who kept saying Paravision just play super slow and fucking VP because it's Jamie. Doesn't. That's not even how they play in CS2. Watch the fucking games instead of just spamming memes, you idiots. So my problem is, first of all, you lost to NRG. I'll say that again. You lost to NRG. That happened. Then you almost got, for real, 2-0'd by Red Canids. That could have happened. And then you almost lost to Fluxor. They were actually up by a decent margin on the third map. FaZe has looked absolute fucking ass. And that is with, by the way, Frozen and Twists, the two best players, carrying them. Because here's the problem. Jacob struggles. Yeah, but he's in the wrong role, Starladder Illustrated. Right, first of all, which of the fucking stars am I going to put him in their roles? What you're saying, Polish fan, is you agree with me, you shouldn't be on this team. You should be on fucking Apogee Betclick, and then he should be able to fucking carry those games in Tier 2. Well, in that case, I agree with you. Fuck off. And then you can go and watch him and cheer with your fucking red and white flag and enjoy him in Tier 2 or Stage 1 of the Major if they made it there. He isn't good enough for the roles he's in. I don't think he's good enough overall. And that's not even the biggest problem. That says it all. That's not even the biggest problem. The biggest problem is Brokey is liquid pig shit right now. He has the most expensive fucking gun. And he's not even doing Brokey shit. He's not even making those moves and winning those clutches. He's not even doing well, the eye test says he's still adding to the game. You know, when the stats went bad for JKS in Liquid and at the end of G2, I said, he'd still win you a few clutches though. He still hold a spot on CT. So you can't even say that for Brokey. It's just completely fucking carried. And they're doing that absolute bitch-made shit in FaZe, where they're like, we believe in you. We're going to prove people wrong. And when we win, it shows Brokey is valuable. Oh, shut the fuck up, you loser. I don't care if you're Carrigan or Twist. You say that. You fucking loser. You're supposed to be playing for one of the best teams and team orgs in the world and trying to win the major. And you're just making excuses for why a guy didn't come last in all the stats and you snuck through 2-2 into a 3-2 fucking run on the worst Stage 1 ever in the history of the majors. Bro, I don't care if you have won and there are times you were a winner. That is a loser's mentality. I'm not saying you have to flame him, but at least use some euphemisms and just maybe don't even talk about him for fuck's sake. Give me a break. People flamed Astralis way harder when Blame F was there instead than they did this fucking FaZe team. So there we go. There's all the teams. First things first, let's do the simulator. Now remember, don't be a noob. Don't just leave them all like this undone because it just makes the higher seed win, you idiot. It's not simulating anything. I think people genuinely think the word simulator means this is like in Football Manager where you can have it simulate the game and it does a 3D render of hey, I'm watching the match. Hey, fucking Mbappe scored. I won 3-1 against Sevilla. It's not doing that, you moron. It's not like when they have the UFC play the video game and go, see? Fucking, Conor McGregor would beat Khabib in the rematch. No. You have to pick the games. You have to simulate being an analyst and then pick who's going to win, and then you'll know who has a chance. So miss me with it. They can't beat in the 0-3. You haven't done the simulator. So anyway, let's do it, and we'll actually do the opening round, shall we? So Aurora against M80. The first question immediately. The fuck? Did I get the wrong one? No, there we go. It's over here. Oh, it's because it's not an order of when they're played. Right, okay. Aurora versus M80. I should probably put that back. It's just the veto we're looking at here, boys. Taking out the nuke for Aurora is not even that good, by the way. They've never been a great nuke team for my money. They take out your Ancient, which really puts a dampener if you're M80. I know it says 100% for M80 on Mirage, but look who they're playing. This team is a coin flip on Mirage, but against the best teams in the world. So I'm sorry, Aurora should just not only win this veto, because they can easily veto into the maps they like Dust 2 and Train and etc. But they're going to cook this. I think the firepower is just too much. So yes, Aurora win. Fuck, I have to take that out. Aurora wins the opener. Na'Vi against FlyQuest. The issue is, again, that's not a real number on Inferno. Na'Vi's not that great on Inferno, but they do have bit, for fuck's sake. They'll always have the Dust 2 and the Mirage. Their nuke's in theory weak, but obviously it's not a FlyQuest map. Yeah, there's a big issue with it. This should be a win for Na'Vi as well. Na'Vi wins that one. Liquid against Bait. If you've seen Liquid, there's maybe a chance if I look at the veto. Bait takes out Nuke. Not even that great a map. Take out their Overpass. Now, by the way, Overpass, because it's the newest map, is the newest Anubis Vertigo. Not in terms of tactics or how it plays, but in terms of people don't like it or they haven't fully put all their time into it. Now, the key thing here for Bait is I've got the trade. You're not going to get to play that. Liquid's going to take that out. They're going to take out your Overpass. At that point, you are in deep shit. Like, will they really let it go to Mirage when it's one of your only good maps? Surely they'll force it to something like an Inferno or the Ancient. So Liquid should win this opener. 3D Max against Fnatic. Remember, it's all about veto for this team. Otherwise, I'm taking Fnatic. So they take out the Mirage. Not a bad pick. Here's the problem. Fnatic takes out Nuke. Remember, Nuke and Inferno are the maps you need if you're 3D Max. So you take out that. By the way, if you're Fnatic, you should cynically just ban all these maps out. In fact, if you want to be really silly, just really ban out Nuke, Inferno, Dust 2. I don't think there's any way 3D Max is beating you. So I think actually I'm going to say Fnatic wins that. Oh, what's that? The simulator didn't simulate it. It just had a fucking stat. It's just the seeding, bro. It's just the seeding because of where they are in VRS in the world. Please learn the game, bro. Please. Astralis against NIP. This could be spicy too. Snappy and Shush against Astralis and some of their former teammates. I told you Astralis need that nuke. Right, they take out the Dust 2, which is whatever. I know these maps look like trash, but obviously we're going to take them out of the BO1s anyway. The problem is Nip like Nuke. So in theory, there's a world where they probably shouldn't remove it. They probably have to leave these 3 maps in, don't they? So it could be Nuke. In which case, Astralis probably should win, but it's touch and go, because I kind of feel like the firepower might even a tiny bit be on the NIP side there. But I will give them respect for the nukes. I'll say, actually, I'll probably take Astralis to win that one. Depends on the betting though later. Tyloo against Paravision. This could be a Paravision angle. Depends on the veto. Tyloo takes out Dust 2. Remember, ignore the numbers. They've been playing bad teams. They take out the nuke, but the nuke isn't even that good a map. It's more, I'm not looking at the numbers. I'm looking at where they're strongest. So they're strongest on Mirage, Ancient. You can get those maps in theory. You're going to take out the Overpass. They're going to take out your nuke for you. So if you Tyloo, you can even get it to a map you like. You could probably get it to it. Not Train. You could maybe just get it to Mirage. It's even a map that's tricky for Jim to call on, I think. With that said, the firepower tells me Tyloo can get the upset. But it's a BO1. So I think I'll probably take Paravision for that one. I also think the firepower is slightly overrated because a lot of it's in Jamyong. MIBR versus Imperial is obviously a bullshit draw. And the idea one of these teams has to get a win just because of this is kind of whack. But if we go down, MIBR has always been people who banned us too. That's actually a decent map, but not the best map. No, it's actually it's in the middle for Imperial. Imperial takes out your Ancient, which is a bit tricky if you're MIBR. You think about where they could veto though. You've got a very good chance to end on a nuke. And I favour MIBR for having better players. So MIBR wins that one. Passion UA versus FaZe Clan. The idea I even have to consider this is nuts, but just the nature of FaZe at the moment. So they don't play the Mirage, which is big for FaZe. That's actually big if Passion UA wants to get the upset. They take out the Train, which is not a bad. That's a pretty decent removal from FaZe 2. You take out what? Overpass. I'm figuring if you're FaZe, you want to play Nuke, Inferno, maybe Ancient. Dust 2's there, but yeah, I think you've always been sus and they're too good on it. So if they're going to take out Mirage, Ancient, and maybe Nuke. Overpass has less sample size. Mirage, Ancient. Oh, Inferno. Mirage, Inferno, Ancient. FaZe is going to take out Train, Overpass. It's probably going to be just 2 or nuke, depending on which you want. More recently, you'd say FaZe would favour the nuke. In theory, Passion a bet on Dust 2. She probably should go to the nuke. I think FaZe should win that one is the problem. So I'm going to give that to FaZe. Oh no, I've given the worst team by seeding a win. Oh, what happened to the simulator? It's just it's just seeding, boys. Just seeding. It's just seeding. Next round. Aurora versus FaZe Clan in a BO1. That should be Aurora all day long. Na'Vi against Paravision. That should be Na'Vi all day long. Team Liquid against Fnatic. I think that's more of like a 60-40, but it should be Team Liquid by player quality. Astralis versus MIBR. The main thing there is, let me think, because in theory you can get to the nuke against MIBR is the key thing. So I think I will take Astralis for that one, even though I think the firepower MIBR and a BO1's a little bit scary. I'll take Astralis to win that one, I think. On the betting, it would depend if they were an underdog enough or not. We'll do the 2-0 part first. If it's Aurora against Astralis, yes, Aurora wins that one. Or Astralis winning the most slapped down all 3 maps right to the limit of an overtime or regulation on the 3rd map. But I think aside from that, Aurora win, maybe even 2-0. Na'Vi against Liquid should be Na'Vi. Should be Na'Vi. Liquid, if they frag out, can do it, but it should be Na'Vi. 0-1 games. 3D Max against Imperial. Right, Imperial plays Dust 2, Inferno, and Nuke. And they're some of their best maps. I mean, not Inferno, maybe. So the problem there is they're probably going to play into the hands of 3D Max. So I give that to 3D Max. Tyloo against NIP. I'll quickly look at the Tyloo one, but actually, what am I talking about? That's just a win for NIP. Passion UA against Bait is hard. Because I do like Bait better as a team, but I feel like the better players are on Passion UA. And Bait has a problem closing games for my money. So I think I'll take Passion UA for that one. Even though they can be a bit sus. I think they've just got the stars. M80 against FlyQuest. I'll take M80 for that one. I don't think FlyQuest can perform like they did before. Let me think about that actually. Because M80 definitely smurfed and overperformed. So what was the FlyQuest angle again? M80 want Mirage, Ancient, and Dust 2. Mirage, don't play Ancient, and not that good at Dust 2. Ooh, okay. I guess I might actually take FlyQuest for that one, because I think in the veto, logically, they should be able to get away from M80's maps. Then we do the 1-1 games. Fnatic against Passion UA. In a BO1, I think I'm going to take Fnatic for that one. They are the better team. FaZe Clan against 3D Max. The problem obviously here is in theory FaZe, it's a BO1, are probably going to actually play into allow a strong map from 3D Max. So I think I'll take 3D Max to win that one. Even though the quality of the players means FaZe Clan should win it. That's the issue. They should. But I tell you what, I do kind of like the tactical system of 3D Max. I think I'll take 3D Max to be cheeky on that one. MIBR against Paravision. Let me think. MIBR, I do like the nuke, but they're not going to get it. Then again, they take out the Dust 2. Oof. I think I'll take MIBR to win by player strength, but I think the veto might get a bit tricky there. FlyQuest against NIP. I will take NIP to win that one. 0-2 games. M80 versus Imperial Esports. So Imperial won Overpass and Mirage. Overpass, no go there, but not the veto. The Mirage is decent. I think I'll take M80. I think Imperial, I do like some of their players, but their team just doesn't really fit together that well, in my opinion. Let me think, actually. No, I think I'll take M80 for this one. Bait against Tai Lu. This is a veto all day long, so let me have a look at this one. Tai Lu. Love to play Inferno despite losing it fucked on. Bit of train. I think I'd take Bait to win that one. I think they're a better team. They just lack the firepower compared to the best player in Tai Lu. Then we do the 2-1 games. Astralis versus 3D Max. Crucially, they take out the Dust too. Their Inferno's a little bit sus, but they're willing to play it a fuck ton. And they do like Nuke. So in theory, if you are 3D Max, you could pick an Inferno and get Nuke as the decider. That is actually the formula to potentially win that game. That is a tough one. That is a tough one. So should they be favoured though? I think, for me, usually when they can get two of those maps, I do favour them. I think I'll take them to win that one, actually, amazingly. Team Liquid against NIP should be Team Liquid. Fnatic against MIBR is a tough one, but I think I'll say Fnatic. FlyQuest against Bait. I can go both ways on this. Is a really 50-50. I think I'll take Bait, but I think they can both go with on that one. I'll say FaZe Clan will beat M80. Let's not be silly. Passion UA against Paravision. That's another tough touch one. I might take Paravision to win that. Then the last games, the 2-2 games. Astralis against Bait. Astralis should win that game, so that because Astralis is going to get through somehow. FaZe Clan against Paravision. It should be FaZe Clan. Let's not be silly. MIBR against NIP. I think it's a really close game. We'll say NIP makes it. So, in my simulator, I have got Na'Vi and Aurora 3-0. It's tricky to necessarily pick Na'Vi as the 3-0 team, of course. Then I've got 3-1 Liquid, 3D Max and Fnatic. You maybe would have thought some of them might be 3-2 as well. 3-2 ends up being Astralis, FaZe Clan, NIP. And then 0-3 is Tai Lu and Imperial. I actually think when I go and look at the overall thing here, those are some pretty decent ones, I've got to say. So, when it comes to picking the 3-0 teams, the obvious problem you have is Aurora are the most likely team to 3-0, but they could also easily fuck up a BO1, in which case, if you want to be really safe, you can just put them as a 3-1, 3-2 team. I don't hate that, especially because they might play like a FaZe Clan, for example. They might have to play I think it's mainly FaZe Clan I'm more worried about there. They might give the nuke to the Astralis, obviously, in the BO3, but they should still win that one. With that said, I will still put them as a 3-0 team. I also think Na'Vi, it's partly because of who they're going to play. They can certainly lose to Liquid, but I think Liquid is the only other team I'm really thinking about for a 3-0. So I'm not going to bet on Liquid because they can't close the games. I think Na'Vi's just got the better floor. I'm going to put Na'Vi 3-0. Then for the 0-3 teams, I'm going to put Imperial immediately. I don't even think they should be in this stage. I think they're not a particularly good team. And I'm going to put... This is where I was thinking between Passion UA, M80, partly because of the experience angle. I think MIBR's just got too much firepower. Tai Lu. Those are the only teams I'm really thinking. I think even Paravision wins a BO1. I don't think FaZe can 0-3. So I think I'm going to do what the simulator said. I'm going to take Tai Lu. On paper against this field, you'd think they win at least one BO1. But if you look who I actually think they're going to end up playing, I think they will. I think they're going to go 0-3. Look, I hate to do it because Jamyoung's just too good to be 0-3, but the floor of some of the other teams is better, maybe. Then for the teams going through, I'm going to immediately take Liquid. They've just got too much talent. Like I say, they're even probably a team that in the next stage should be playing for the chance to 3-1, 3-2 and sneak through to the playoffs. I'm going to take 3D Max because I think they can get the vetoes against a lot of the squads in this phase. So I think they're good enough to get through. Wait there a second. I'm going to... Even though on 3-1s I think I then had Fnatic, I'm actually next going to take NIP. They can be hit and miss, but they can also be good, and I do like the construction of the team. I just need Wrinkle to play a little bit better. Then I have Fnatic, who I do think will get through. Blame F1 one of the best players in this phase as well. Then in the simulator, I had Astralis and FaZe. Now, if I look at these other teams, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Maybe MIBR can sneak in. I don't think Paravision can. So it's not that I think Astralis and FaZe are good. I think they're highly flawed teams, but I think they've got enough quality to get through. Obviously, Astralis need that nuke against a bunch of people, but if you look at the draw they're going to get, they could for real get nip into MIBR. So that's doable. And then FaZe Clan, look, they just should get through, shouldn't they? They still do also have FaZe, Rose and Twist, and they do have Carrigan, who's a great leader. They just need to figure out a home map. Right now, the Veto's also killing me. I think that's my picks. Those picks make sense to me. Now, you know you never catch me dolo online because I'm rolling deep and we dem boys. Who am I talking about? The Illuminati. So this video and the content on my channel is kindly supported by Matt Pugnatio Rajcula, Thooorin, Jensen Goh, Nicky, Jasun. You know who my second in command is. Jerky's minion. Do you want to suggest a topic or a guest for some of my content? Would you like to ask me a question in an AMA? Do you want to take part in one of those lengthy discussions where you get to set the topic? Maybe you want to see who upcoming guests are in my interviews and on my talk shows. Well, all of these perks and more are available to you if you put your money where your mouth is and join the Illuminati today. How? Via the Patreon link in the description box below. You dig?